Welcome to Deleted Saves. On this episode, Secret of Mana on the SNES. Video games have an odd history with their middle children and naming conventions when porting said games to other regions of the world. Many times, North American gamers have received games, especially in the Japanese role-playing game genre, that are in fact the second story, the middle chapter of a trilogy that we may not have received the start of, and may never get to see how it all plays out in the third act. Such is the case with 1993's Secret of Mana, a high fantasy game set in the magically titled and first of its name Mana series, an offshoot of the Final Fantasy series, a game juggernaut which we will get to at a later time. In truth, the first game in this Mana series was brought to North America, but it was titled, confusingly, Final Fantasy Adventure. Secret of Mana is not the only middle child of a series to receive such a treatment and that gained fame and glory on Western shores, divorced from its siblings, but it is the one that I got to know. As discussed in a previous episode, Secret of Mana features the, at the time, new combat system known as Active Time Battle, which made the game more of an action RPG rather than a static traditional one. The story is fairly boilerplate. Young man finds mystic sword, gets thrown out of home village for a transgression of some sort, in this case removing said sacred sword and upsetting the universal MacGuffin balance, and finds his place and friends in the wider world while on the way to defeating an ancient slumbering evil and a rotten-to-the-core empire. You can't get any more standard than that. There are just 3 party members to recruit, covering a whole horde of tropes. The silent protagonist klutzy himbo male, the sassy and chronically pissed-off girl character looking for the man of her dreams, which is both running gag and semi-insult, and the free-wheeling tree sprite fairy type. But really, all the protagonist characters are like cotton candy given sentience and googly eyes. Sweet, but mostly air and peak anime. Secret of Mana also came out during what may be called the golden age of software developer Square, years before they merged with Enix, a company of the same niche as Square, and became the monolithic Square Enix. In the early to mid-1990s, Square had produced hit after hit with the Final Fantasy series and its offshoots, and appeared to be able to do no wrong, which also allowed them to break up their various titles, both flagships and lesser grades, and resell them to the West under different names, or with missing story beats and chapters. And whoo boy, folks, don't get me started on the gymnastics of localization and translation to primarily English-speaking nations. The real draw of this game, and the thing that may be what it's best remembered for, was a rather unique feature to the genre, and in fact the Super Nintendo hardware itself of the day. While most action games had local couch co-op built in, RPGs were largely a solitary experience. One player, one decision maker, even if you had friends in the room. But Secret of Mana utilizes the second player port, and with a specialized adapter called the Super Multitap, an additional third player port, to allow all 3 characters to be controlled individually by up to 3 players in the same room. That's right, you and 2 of your friends can quest through the lands of whatever the fuck it's called, if you have the hardware and your time schedules line up. I did not, but there were times I was able to bring my copy of the game over to my best friend's house, and we were able to play it 2-player, while the third was controlled by an AI. This was its own unique form of disaster, but at least we had fun. And yeah, that was the bit of Secret of Mana that stuck out the most. I finally got to play a digital RPG with a friend in the room and in-game, strategizing and utilizing another live person to solve puzzles and take down bosses without having to stop much and do resource management by myself. And I was content to keep this gaudy candy floss adventure at a time when I couldn't get enough role-playing games in the nostalgic area of my heart. But strangely enough, the game received a curtain call many years later. In 2018, decades after the original release, Square Enix decided to dust off the old show pony of a property and make it even more anime, in all caps, than I could ever have imagined for reasons, I guess? Like, holy shit. I do so love me a remake, but I'm not sure that this was the one we needed. But is it good? Well, I feel that your mileage may vary, whether you play the original or the remake, or both. For my part, I think it is an amazing game to play with a friend, roommate, or significant other on a rainy afternoon or a dark winter's night when simple and cozy warm feels are needed. It's okay to excuse the paper-thin plot and lame jokes, as long as you're having fun with someone you like and care about. Not every game has to be the equivalent of Shakespeare, And that simplicity may just be the real secret to the enduring charm of this middle child of a game. Thank you for listening.